So when you're so determined, when you're so clear what you want in life, and you're so determined to get it, and you're willing to give up everything and everyone for it, then you're living a life in alignment with your purpose, and then you can spend the rest of your life in sync with who you are, as opposed to chasing so many different things around you that sparkle, whether it's, you know, I want to be like that person, and I want to do this, and that sounds fascinating, maybe I'll try that for a few years. You know, you meet kids nowadays that are 18, 19, 20 years old, and you ask them, what do you want to do? What are you studying at university? Oh, I think I'll do science and for a year, and you know, and then I might major in this, but I was also thinking I might take a year off, you know, travel a little bit and then come back, and I'm not sure, maybe I'll do arts. I'm kind of interested in this topic. How do you not know what you want to do? It's we have one life. You don't get a second shot at this. Get clear what you want.
Most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. We literally have to become somebody else. So then you would have to agree with me then all this information that you're learning today would inspire new thoughts, yes? And new thoughts should lead to new choices, yes? And new choices should lead to new behaviors. And new behaviors should lead to new experiences. And then new experiences should create new emotions, yes? And new emotions should inspire new thoughts, and that's called evolution, yes? So then those emotions that Greg was talking about this morning, the majority of people in the Western world spend the majority of their life living by the hormones of stress. Now, stress is when your body's knocked out of homeostasis. The stress response is what your body innately does to return itself back to order. That's the first definition of resilience. Now, you have three types of stress. You have physical stress, like an injury, an accident, a fall, a trauma. You have chemical stress, like viruses and bacteria and blood sugar levels and heavy metals and hormones and foods and hangovers. And then you have emotional stress. Right?
It's not only about training the body, it's about training the mind too, right? The mind needs to adjust, and the mind is like a muscle. It needs to reshape itself to be able to take on a new way of thinking and a new way of behaving, and, you know, progressively hold that new shape. And that only comes through repetition and patience and slow, hard work of doing the same thing over and over again. You know, one of my good friends is an Olympic gold medalist. She won the gold medal in beach volleyball. And she told me, and she had an amazing teacher, a coach, she said, and she said at one time the coach made her work on the volleyball court, do footwork for 6 months with no ball. So they trained for 6 months on the sand with no ball, and it was beach volleyball. Wow. And, you know, she did whatever her coach told her to do. She said she grumbled, but she did it. But that's the training that most people just don't want to go through, you know, and I think so many teachers out there are selling quick fixes, and because they have never been trained themselves properly, so they've got a quick fix learning to get from A to B, so then they go and teach a quick way to get from A to B. You know, they don't understand this old traditional path of slowly learning and developing yourself over a period of time is what really creates mastery in a certain level. In the monastery, living a celibate life in a cloistered monastery, away from your family, friends, your relatives, you know, waking up early in the morning, strict discipline and training, eating 3 meals a day, it takes 36 years before you're qualified as a teacher. Do the work now so you can spend the rest of your life living a life that's in alignment with your purpose. Once you figure out what you want now and what your purpose in life is, then you can spend the rest of your life living a life in alignment with that purpose. And, you know, talking about deathbed, you know, when my guru was dying, one of the last things he said on his deathbed was, "What an amazing life. I would not have traded it for anything in the world." What an amazing life. I would not have traded it for anything in the world. Now, what words to hear from a dying man? You know, to be able to look back on your life and say, that was freaking spectacular. You know, he was often, when he was 10 years old, he grew up in Lake Tahoe in Northern California. His mother died, I think, when he was 8, 9, and then his father died, and at 10, he was adopted by a close friend of the family. At 10 years old, she asked him, when she adopted him, what do you want to do with your life? I mean, what a question to ask a 10-year-old, right? And you know what his answer was? I want to dance. And the people that trained him in dance in his early teen years were mystics from Europe. They not only taught him how to dance, but they taught him how the mind works, the body works, the nervous system. He had such strict discipline. And he shared with me a story once that he was in a class with a few teachers, with a teacher, with a few students learning, and there was a knock on the door. And the teacher opened the door, and there was a student at the door. And the student was 5 minutes late. And the teacher looked at the boy, this 11 or 12-year-old boy, I think, and said, obviously you're not serious about learning. And he closed the door, and they never saw that student again. Old school, huh? But by the time my guru was about 16 or 17 years old, he was the premier dancer for the San Francisco Ballet Company. One of the best, if not the best, ballet dancer in America. Yeah. And then he left, he jumped on the first ship to sail from America to India to pursue his enlightenment. But he was so clear what he wanted. He wanted self-realization, and then he spent some time in Sri Lanka, a few months, and then he finally felt that he could attain the self-realization he wanted. He gave away his belongings. He went into these caves called the Caves of Jelani in southern Sri Lanka in the jungles, and he promised himself he would fast and meditate till he attained enlightenment. He was this 19-year-old American boy in the late 1940s in a cave in southern Sri Lanka.
So then think about this. You can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. How many people have done that? You've done that? It's called being human, right? And we know that the hormones of stress dysregulate and downregulate genes that create disease. So that means then your thoughts can make you sick. So here's my question. If your thoughts can make you sick, can your thoughts make you well? I'm talking to the right audience. So then, the hormones of stress, though, give the body and brain a rush of energy. And it's like a narcotic. It becomes a drug. And people become very addicted to the adrenaline and the stress hormones. And they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their emotional addiction so they can remember who they think they are. The bad relationship, the bad job, the terrible circumstances, all of that is in place because the person needs that to reaffirm their emotional addiction.
Yeah, for sure. People don't take time out for themselves, right? And that's something I've been saying lately to a lot of people is that nobody spends time with themselves. And when I say this to people, they go like, oh, I have alone time. Every evening when I walk my dog for half an hour, that's my alone time. And you're like, no, that's walking a dog. When I'm at the gym working out, that's my alone time. I go like, no, that's being at the gym. Alone time is you sitting down in a chair at home or on the floor, cross-legged, no music, no journal, no podcast, your eyes closed, and spending time in contemplation and reflection. Not meditation, but in actual reflection and really having a conversation with yourself, the same way we're having a conversation, getting to know each other and each other's opinions and thoughts. You have a conversation with yourself, and people don't do that, right? They don't spend any time doing that, and if you don't spend any time doing that, how would you know what's important in your life, where are you struggling, and what you need to focus on next, and what you need to work on? You're so busy from the moment the alarm rings, they reach over to the side table, grab their phone, turn off the alarm, look at all their notifications, and then start stroking that phone. This is how people get pleasure in the morning, stroking their phone.
Or months. That's called a temperament. Why is he so angry? I don't know. Why are you so angry? Well, this experience happened to me 9 months ago. And I'm living by the same emotional reaction. One long refractory period. And if you keep it going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And most people wear their emotions layer by layer, and they believe that's who they are. And there was an article in Scientific American just 2 months ago that scientists said that 50% of what you say about your past is not true. Because you're not the same person. You make up stuff. And so then, if feelings and emotions are the end product of past experiences, now stay with me. Did Greg say we need to think differently? Yes? So how many people in this audience believe that the way you think has something to do with your life? You do, yes? Okay, so feelings and emotions are the end product of past experiences, yes? You can remember experiences better because you can remember how they feel, yes? So then, if you can't think greater than how you feel, or feelings have become the means of thinking, are you thinking in the future or are you thinking in the past? And as long as you're thinking in the past, what are you creating more of? Quantum model of reality still applies. And so, if you're feeling the same way every single day, then according to our biological model, it means nothing new is happening in your life. And a new state of being is a new personality. And a new personality creates a new personal reality. So, after I wrote Evolve Your Brain, and after What the Bleep, you know the most common question people asked when I was traveling around the world? How do you do it? How do you do this stuff? Why is it so hard to change? I mean, what do you do? And so we started teaching workshops around the world, and we were doing introductory levels, and we were using science and brainwave technology and breaking it down, the heart coherence, so people could understand how powerful they really were. And so we started teaching these workshops after What the Bleep, and for the first year and about 3 or 4 months, guess what happened? Nothing. I don't know if if it was me or just whatever it was, but there wasn't a lot happening. And then after about a year and a half or so, we started getting these emails. You know, people coming to the events, and the first line of every email was always the same. You're not going to believe this. My 20 years of hatred towards my father, you know, I just decided I didn't want to hate any longer, and my acid reflux went away. What do you know? Did I signal a new gene in a new way? And people started to correlate what they were doing. They were actually practicing it consistently, not as something that they had to do, but something that they wanted to do, because they believed it was possible. And if you knew that you were a creator of reality, that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, if you knew that on a gut level, would you ever miss a day? Never miss a day. And would you ever let a thought slip by your awareness that you didn't want to experience? And then, if we could measure all of those things, and we can consistently have people retreat from their life for 4 days, to no longer return back to the same environment that reminds them of who they think they are. So for 4 days, people retreated from their world. And we started at 6 in the morning, and we went till around 6 or 7 at night. And these people were passionate about transformation. And we recorded amazing things. And I'm going to show you some of those pictures after we take a break. But it begs the question then, if your personality creates your personal reality, and you walk back into your life every single day, and you see the same people, and you go to the same places, and you do the same things at the exact same time, then it's your external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. And as long as your same environment reminds you of who you are, and you're thinking equal to your environment, then your personal reality is creating your personality. And there's a dance between the biology in your inner world and the experience in your outer world. And that tango is called karma. So then to change then is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the conditions in your world, to be greater than the circumstances in your life. And every great person in history knew this, whether it was William Wallace or Mahatma Gandhi or Joan of Arc or Martin Luther King, the Wright brothers, to have a vision, an idea, a dream, and to begin to no longer keep doing the same things, as Greg said.